Hey, Ben, here's the question. Are they seeing something that others aren't?
No, but they're being seduced as enthusiastic amateurs. So you and I have been doing investing for over 30 years, or for me, it's just ticked over
Yeah, don't
30.
don't tick me over 30, mate. I'm not quite
Sorry.
there.
And yeah, I mean, it was the Ferraris and the sports cars and the big houses and So what are they tapping into? They're tapping into the psychology here. The psychology is that if I can be successful, and then people will like me, right? It's a very, very granular sort of biological feeling that most of us want. That's why we always talk about human interest, human behavior, and status, and those types of things, right? So if you can tease me with something that seems easy, is fast, so in other words, the get rich quick, I can get there, then you'll get my eyeballs. Right, and that's effectively what finfluencers. Now there are other good finfluencers out there who educate and take time and so forth, but that's boring. But the sensationalist that's needed to pattern interrupt and get in front of people, all of those things play out. So let's understand that. Now let's also understand what we know about studies into what we call price bubbles. Okay, so throughout history, there's been multiple price bubbles from tulips and ostriches and emus and all of these things in terms of people trying different things, even Bitcoin to some degree, in terms of, well, cryptocurrency, I should say, more to the point, not so much Bitcoin. But there's all of these sort of things that go on with that. Now, one of the things that they understood around that is this whole idea of what are their findings. The findings were irrational exuberance. We got a recent case of it a few years back with a share called GameStop through Reddit. And basically, they were pumping and dumping in terms of they would pump up a story, they would pump up a market, they'd get the run. But before they did that, they basically got in, and then all of a sudden it made them look amazing in terms of the returns that they got. But it's always the people who get in at the latter stages who obviously, have the big losses. So conceptually, that's what we're talking about here. Now, over the journey, if you had said to me 15, 20 years ago, was there an ability for buyers agents or for property spruikers to move a market? The reality was, in my mind back then, no, there wasn't, because it wasn't coordinated. The information wasn't readily shared. There might be spruikers going around Australia doing their in-hotel seminars and those types of things. And so it was sort of uncoordinated. But what we now have through social media or social envy platforms is this ability to gain access. So the asymmetry of information has now been sort of democratized. And so ultimately, you've got a situation now where getting access to a lot of that information and then seeing that information go viral can effectively, talk about hotspots in particular markets. And that now can absolutely influence markets over the short term. So I think that's a really important message in terms of, so when, these buyers agents who create these large audiences are talking up particular markets, you only need to potentially have 50 odd interested buyers on 30 odd pieces of stock to actually move the market. Because the other interesting thing about property is it's not fractionalized, whereas shares are fractionalized, meaning that there's millions of them, and so you're only buying a slither of something. Where with property, so if I've got a particular property and I've got 3 active buyers on it, and the price point is 450, and I'm fairly well to do, I might say just offer 460 and get it off the market, right? So all of that sort of can happen. So we can artificially inflate through this effectively enthusiastic amateurs and this irrational exuberance. We can push markets pretty quickly through their price points. And ultimately, that's where we get to a situation where we may have exceeded what is fair value in those particular markets, Bryce.
I've said it before, but if you're only hearing this for the first time, I've said it before. Imagine if I went and I learned how to be an obstetrician, and I came straight out of the training to learn how to be an obstetrician to deliver babies, and I started to build a personal brand, right? And then I was influencing people through this personal brand to all of a sudden someone said to me, hey, listen, I like what you're saying. I think you've got a new and novel way of delivering babies. I'm really interested in that. Can you come and deliver the baby for me? And then they go, oh, by the way, how many deliveries have you done? And it's like, well, I've done 3. It's like all of a sudden you would go, oh, hang on. Fundamentally, I don't want to leave that major decision in the life of in the hands of someone who hasn't got a lot of experience to do what we're going to do. So that's probably a framework that I would overlay. Now, I just want to put it out there, Ben. I know a number of people who are new to industry and they're running great businesses, and I'm not tarring everyone, right? So I just want to be super clear. But I've seen a ton of them, to the point where some real estate agents ring us, and we've been in the game for a long time. They go, hey, listen, I've got this property that's likely to come off market. And we go, great. And they go, well, I just want you to know, I'm going to ring a couple of these freshies and see if they'll pay too much for it. And if they don't, I'll come back to you, and then you guys can have a swing, which is frustrating for us, right? Because sometimes these freshies go and pay extraordinary amounts because they get seduced by, oh, we can tell our client that we got it off market. So, geez, we've covered some ground here. But I think what I want to say to this is the approach is long-term fundamentals with some element of short-term hot spotting, whilst knowing that there are risks of just chasing hot spotting. And the sweet spot is actually getting a bit of both. And it's having the wisdom and the lived experience and the runs on your legs to actually know when you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.